Item number 1, Ms. Jones, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Roberts,
Present.
Commissioner Hall,
Present.
Commissioner Buffalini,
Present.
Vice Mayor McDonald,
Present.
Mayor Anderson.
Present. Item number 2, citizens' comments.
There are none tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. Item number 3 is new business. 3A, ordinance 2026-09, an ordinance of the City of Fairview, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026, and ending June 30, 2027. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
My time is your time. I appreciate y'all meeting tonight and us going over this. We were asked at the last meeting to put a budget together that required no tax increase. First of all, I want to thank Ben Knox, our finance director, directly, and I want to thank all of our department officials who are here tonight. This was an exercise that was tough, but we were getting direction and we've carried that out for you. What you have on your first page, I want to just go over that briefly before Mr. Knox goes over the line-by-line budget. To get the savings we needed, the initial task we did, we took all budgets except fire and police and worked through each of those line by line, item by item to make cuts. If you look at that, each of those items, you'll see from that alone, cut $649,000 out of the budget. And again, Mr. Knox will go over that with you line by line. After we did that, we were still remaining. We went back to every budget, including police and fire, took the percentage they are of the aggregate budget, and then divided the remaining cuts by that percentage. So then again, we went back to every department, and then along with fire and police. The reason I left fire and police out and asked that to be done, I always go on the theory that public safety is the most important thing we do, and if we have to cut, that should be the last place we go. So after that, after percentage cuts, it shows you that we cut an additional $668,000 out with a combined reduction of $1.3 million, which gives you a budget with a net effect of up about $30,000, but with a 0% tax increase. But that's the method we went by. Behind this cover sheet I have are the budgets, and Mr. Knox is listed on those budgets, cuts by line, and if it's okay with the commission at this point, I'd like for him to go that line by line so you can see where the cuts are. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Knox?
Good evening. On the second page, we have revenues. The only thing that we have changed on the first and second page is we're only going to change inside the 110, so 112, 113, 300, 121, and 619. Those are remaining unchanged. The only thing that we're focusing on here is the 110. On the second page, top right, that shows our under-over. What Mayor Ride just talked about, this is what we came in under, $37,045. If you will go to the first page of administration, should be 2 pages past that. So I tried to lay this out as in the same format that we have been using. Line items are over here on the left side. I have our original budget that we brought next to the no increase. So no increase will be on the left. The original budget we brought is on the right, and then the changes on the farthest on the right. The first change in admin is in 110 in salaries. That is 2 positions. That is the first number, 193,763 is their salary, and then going down all the way through 401 is salary associated with that number.
Ben, can you say that again? Sorry, I want to make sure I'm following along correctly.
So the 110, what we cut from that 193, 763 is two positions in administration. There's 4 total.
Is that new positions?
Sir?
Is that to be new positions?
No, these are cuts from these are current positions that are held,
That we have right now?
that we have right now, yes.
You want to say what positions they are?
I can. It's economic development and public information officer. Right here.
I've got you. You can continue. I got it. Thank you.
The next cut is GNRC dues for $8,000. That's number 208. 206, excuse me. 208 is Lexipol. That is our policy management system. Offers training and just general education where our all our city policies are held. We would have to go back to the policy manual being printed off, and no training on that. Next is 218, advertising. Next is 236, community relations. $275, promotional materials.
Can I ask a question?
Sure thing.
Up in the community, I'm sorry, where were we? Advertising. If we cut that out of the budget, is that for all departments or is that just for administration? Like, what do we exactly use that budget for? What would some of the items be?
Most of this is used, we would have to, I guess most of it is used whenever we post our meetings. We would have to find a different way to post our meetings. So like whenever we do the budget ad, run that in the paper is really what that's for. Anything that has to be like a public notification or something.
Right. Did they just pass a law saying that you can use digital as public notification?
I do not know the answer to that.
Okay.
I believe we're at 280, travel, decrease that by 500. 282, lodging, decrease that by 500. 302, training, decrease that by 2,000. $309, office furniture, take that away, minus 500. 325, miscellaneous community events, that was completely taken out, 15,000.
What's covered by that?
Ma'am?
What kind of events have been covered by that? Do we spend that every year?
Anything outside of July 4th would be covered outside that, so arts and crafts, fair,
Nature Fest.
Nature Fest. Yes, Easter egg hunt. Just anything outside of July 3rd event, sorry. I think I said 4th.
Okay, thanks. And back up to 206 for a moment, please, with GNRC.
Yes.
What does that cover? It's $8,000. What do we get for that $8,000?
It's a membership to, it's their yearly membership. as far as what,
Ms. Carroll, do you know what benefits we get from the GNRC membership? Would you mind coming and telling us, please?
It gives us a lot of opportunities for grants. We get a seat at the table with other mayors. We basically, they partner with us and guide us as far as the TIF money the state delivers, gives us the opportunity to get the grant money. It has a lot of benefit. I would say that would be something with a growing city you would want to continue, just for the fact of that's where all the money is given to from the federal and state that trickles down, and they get to help disperse it. Mayor Rao may be able to kind of tell, could we get the grant money without being a member? I'm not 100% sure, but the assistants, and they will actually walk us through projects. They tell you how to apply. They keep a running total of where we are with the TDOT projects and what, where the money is, and they basically do any regional planning. So, you're looking at, when you hear we're on the list of, 2040 or 20, I don't even know what they're on now. But basically, it's the planning process. I think it's valuable, and I would probably say both mayors sitting in the room would agree. So.
Do we have any specific examples of a benefit that we've gained from that relationship?
The modem.
I'm not
satellite.
saying there's not. I'm just curious for the sake of being more specific.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of grant opportunities. I've met with them for a couple times over the last couple years about how opportunities. We got the lighting exchange grant. That's how we learned about it. Also, I recently talked to the mayor about, I was in a meeting, they had a drop of regional transportation dollars. And I said, hey, let's get a meeting with them because we're gonna have trouble on Northwest Highway. We gotta spend that $2.5 million. And the last time we met with them, they said, well, you're so far along, I don't know if you wanna take federal or apply for grants. But now knowing our budget restraints, mentioned to Bob the other day, we need to probably sit down, also to Chief Hughes, because we need to look into probably going that route since we're not going to be able to finish the Northwest Highway project, and we're going to lose $2.5 million. So it's a regional partnership, and the benefit is huge. If you're not sitting in that table, you can't fight for your dollars. And so if you're looking at using grant money as a possibility, you're missing out on the opportunity to progress your city without doing it directly out of your pocket. And there has been years where we did not show up, and that's where we get paying for our own Northwest Highway and taking out bonds. That was all stuff. If we were a member, even though we never lost the membership, but we just didn't show up and participate, that really could have all been done off of grant money. Why we had to take a bond for that, in my personal opinion, was not necessary, but it was done. So now, knowing that we're not going to be able to finish it, our best opportunity is to look for grant money to not lose the $2.5 million the developer has put in.
Thank you.
They haven't put it in. The caveat is we need to begin, not finish, the Northwest Highway project, which we have not done either one of those.
Well, we're far enough along where we have done some stuff like the right-of-way and the positions, but we're not anywhere without either taking another note or coming up with solutions, and that's all something we were going to have to discuss. Could we use the bond money, could we use the 2.5 to match?
The
if we did-
2.5 is the developer's money that they
Yeah.
will give us once we begin the
Right.
project, which we have not done yet.
I
So they have
understand.
no obligation to give us that money at this point in time.
Yeah. So you think that as we move along, it may be a great solution if we went to the developer? Because I don't know really right now, Vice Mayor, where you're going to get the money to get that road. So unless we go after grants.
That's why we're having the difficult conversation that we're going to have tonight.
Yeah.
The GNRC, excuse me, the GNRC, that's the annual dues. That's simply all it is. Each city and county inside the 13-county region pays dues based on population. They get most of their money through the grants by administering grants, but the GNRC portion that we're paying, along with every other city and county inside this, is an additional amount. The amount of their budget is not consequential in a large way. It's probably not more than 10% of all GNRC's budget. But for you to participate and have them as your development district and doing part of the work for you, you do have to be a member of it.
And they do a lot of other stuff that we don't even use to the fullest. I mean, they do, they have a, senior, elderly help that's available to the community. There's a lot of opportunities that I think is a benefit. And like I said, I've seen us when we've been involved, and I've seen us when we're not, and your name does not show up on the list when you're not involved. So.
378 uniforms, we took away $250. 525 is life and disability insurance. That's a benefit that the city has. That's, if we take that away, that's $30,000. 913 is the English property lease that we have in front of City Hall. It's taking out $3,600. And then down here, the last two lines on the far right, 76,150, that's the total out of operations minus personnel, and then the 326,964 is personnel plus operations.
So if we,
What we took out.
take away the English property lease, are we going to turn the property back over to Miss English and not lease it from her?
All I was trying to do was whenever, when Bob explained this first page, was we all were trying to get a percentage, to get our percentage of the budget from each department, was trying to find where to take that money from. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm okay with that. I just didn't know if that would just like end our lease with her.
Well,
I suppose it
we
would.
quit paying it. It's determination of this body what you want to do. Our goal was to make reasonable recommendations to try to get to that number. Again, with any one of these decisions that we're talking about tonight, there are intended or unintended consequences that will come from this. So again, that we save the money, but there is a consequence. So if we don't pay the lease, exactly, we won't have that property any longer.
Okay, so she would have the opportunity to sell the property if she wanted to do that, if we're not in a lease with her on that property.
The way I understand the lease, yes.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that we're also mentioning that this is kind of a brainstorm session tonight. None of this is decided right now. So we have not broken any leases, and,
Well,
and
I just
we haven't
wanted
cut
to
any
point-
positions. Yeah, I just want to
I
make
just wanted to point out what would happen if we
we did that, yeah.
decided not to be
100
in that lease.
completely
That's
get
a
that.
huge
I
cost
just
for
want to make sure in case
$3,600.
anybody joined a little bit late, this is not a voting session. We're just talking and brainstorming tonight.
Now, what we're presenting tonight is, we presented the budget, which y'all voted to move on to the 18th. Now, we're presenting the request of cuts on that, but there will be no final decisions made until we come back on the 18th or any subsequent meeting to finish this budget. So this is a work session from your request, and we look for your input as we go or after this meeting's over from each of you individually as time goes on between now and the 18th.
Mayor, if I could just add to that, when I When I spoke with Bob about it, I'm sorry, Mayor Ryle, and brought it up in the last BOC meeting that we go through this, it was more of a learning exercise for not just us, but citizens as well, to be able to see, I think any time that we're having a real conversation about increasing property taxes, the question then, there's conspiracies and there's, mismanagement conspiracies, whatever it might be. And I think it's best for everybody to be able to see in black and white what it would take in order for us to get to a balanced budget without touching taxes, to maybe give an additional level of context to the citizens to understand why this conversation is taking place. So for all of the sky is falling conversations that are going to happen here with a lot of this, I think we just need to keep in mind that it is really just an exercise to understand the level of, for lack of a better word, destruction to the system that it would take to avoid the tax conversation.
And that was my intent, was just to say, okay, in that one line item, if we did decide to not do that anymore, then she would be free to sell her property. Just so everybody, understood that if that were the case.
That was it for admin. Next department is finance. There was no change on this one. Outside of personnel, there's two people. Outside of personnel, the budget and payroll services. Sorry, I'm doing quick math. Outside of payroll for the two people, payroll services, which is our payroll system, and the money for the budget, there's only $13,500 for the whole department to run, so there's not much to grab from there. Court, sorry, next page. For the court department, this is minus a court clerk and 110 for salaries, and then the rest of those are just money that's associated with that. So Social Security payments, Medicare payments, and retirement for that one position. Next page is Department of Planning and Codes. $110 salaries, that is minus one employee, the codes enforcement officer, and then the associated costs with that. The $5,000 in 113 in part-time salaries. I added that back in there because our building inspector is going to be out for a little bit, and we have a guy that works for the county that will complete the inspections on the side, but we need to be prepared for that. Where I got to that $5,000 was this next cut, 255 plan review services. Miss Maria recently passed all of her tests to be a licensed plan reviewer, so that one is out either way. That 255. We'll be able to save that for next year. Next is GovWell 276. That is the online payment portal for everything planning and codes, from building permits to anything they have associated with that. Next is 500 from code enforcement condemnation. Next is 362 code enforcement weed abatements, 1,500. And then the last is 948 computer equipment and software, minus 2,500 from that. It gives us a total of 122,601 from that department. Next page is police.
Can we
Sorry.
really quick go back up to the 110 for GovWell?
Sure.
So that GovWell is not just for planning, is that correct? Or is it just for planning?
This year, it was just for planning. Next year, we have it set up where we can take payment. We'll be able to take payments on. Right now, we can't take any payments online, so it's all over the phone stuff. We don't have any anything for people to pay for camps or business license. Anything they would pay at City Hall
Right.
or parks. Next year, we went through the setup process, the preliminary setup process for that. This coming year, if we do keep that, we will have the opportunity to pay for those two.
But I
things.
believe GovWell is also connected with public safety.
I think you're wrong on that.
Chief Hughes is
Chief
nodding.
Hughes, can you come up to the mic, sir? Thank you.
GovWell is also the software that we use to review all plans, the fire marshal and I, for all developments, all buildings. We'd have to go back to paper reviews if we lost that software.
Right. Thank you, sir. And just to go up to 110 under salaries, what position was that?
Codes enforcement officer.
But we still have a city planner included in that salary?
Correct. The intention with that is whenever there's no way to know when that gets hired, if that say that it's 6 months that it's not hired, the Griggs and Maloney will be functioning as the planner. So at that point, my idea would be to come for an amendment and say use that portion of the salary for that 6 months to use towards that.
Would they have someone basically here full-time at that point, or would they still work?
I do not know that. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
I would not imagine that they would have a full-time person for that because I would think that would cost significantly more than
Can I ask another
just hiring
question?
someone.
So going down all these line items, we're going down almost every line item, but then we have office equipment lease for $4,200, office equipment for $2,000, office furniture for $500. Are we always buying furniture to utilize that funding? Because
The idea was
in
just to
every
get to the
department,
number,
so I'm
however
just-
we get to
I'm
the
just
number.
curious. I'm sorry?
I said the idea was just to try to get to the number, however we get to the number. We were just trying to get to that percent number.
Well, I mean, I'd rather cut things like that than personnel. That's just my opinion.
Well, personnel is a much larger number than $5,000 in furniture. And if you do the math on that furniture that you just expressed, the $2,500, that's annually. So that's $200 a month that they might come up with a need.
Well, I'm just
So, I
saying
mean, I
that
don't
that's
think
for,
it's like-
for every department, but like, so right now we have office equipment, $2,000, and then we have, office furniture, $500. So there's, $2,500, and every department has something, so it all adds up. That could be one position, possibly. That could be one police officer, one firefighter, one court clerk, one, I'm just playing devil's advocate. Okay.
Excuse me on that, Commissioner Buffalini, I agree. We don't have any particular allegiance to any of these numbers on here. Part of the
Yeah.
exercise was getting that, but if we can find an aggregate number to save that we could push back into personnel, we don't mind looking at that. It would have to go through every budget and enough to find, after you take a position of pay and benefits, it'd take about $75,000 worth, but we don't mind looking for that at all. That's a good point. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
We good to move to police? So for police, they cut 2 officer positions, and then in addition to that was operational cuts also. 1 vacant position and then 1 occupied position. The officer cuts added up to, in 110 salaries, added up to 101,397 plus their associated costs. Brings us to 124,201 for personnel out of police. Took 100 from 218 advertising. 236 community relations, we took $1,000. 259 holding cell maintenance, we took 500. 262 repair and maintenance equipment, we took away 1,000. 269 collision repair, we took away 5,000. 282 lodging, we took away 1,000. 296 emergency medical treatments, we took away 1,000. 302 training, we took away 5,000. 327 ammunition, we took away 3,000. 364 radio repair, took away 1,000. 368 radios, we took away 8,000. I believe that's the cost of a radio. 369 rewards and incentives, we took away $250. 370 community services, we took away 1,000. 371 detention and equipment and supplies, we took away 500. 372 detainee medical supplies, we took away 250. 373 firearms, we took away 2,500. 376 body armor, minus 1,500. 378 uniforms, minus 3,000. 375 uniform accessories, 1,000. 380, we took away 500. 381, same 500. 382 personal safety supplies, we took away 1,000. 383 minus 500 from incident scene personnel supplies. 391 vehicle care supplies and equipment, minus 600, that cleared that one out. 393 mobile data terminals and supplies, minus 500. Gives us 40,200 from operations and plus personnel. We get 164,401 cuts from police.
I have one quick question. I wanted you to get through all that. On 110, 282, lodging, what exactly does that cover? I don't... Chief, can you comment on that?
That's from when we send officers to specialized schools, as in this year. We're having trouble with our supplier for our less lethal stuff. Our in-house instructors have to be instructors in that product, and we're going to have to seek out a new supplier because we just can't get the product from our other one. Then they will need to travel somewhere, wherever that training course is, and attend that as an instructor level course, and they'll have lodging at that. So that's commonplace for specialized schools.
Okay. Thank you.
I've got, since you're up here, we didn't mention this line, but 334 for the range fees. Is that just reduced because the range should be here?
We
midway
own,
through the
those
year?
were only for half a year.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
We'd already reduced that for half a year because we anticipate, we had our pre-construction meeting the other day. The contractor assured us that he thought he could meet the December 15th deadline, so it would only need to be half the year. We wouldn't have those fees for the other half.
Okay, that's what the math looked like. I wanted
Right,
to confirm.
correct.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
While you're here,
Sure.
I'll throw one out there to you. So you got, I'm just trying to help, I guess, put this together here, but you've got vehicle care supplies and equipment. It's only $600.
Right.
I was curious what the budget is. I guess the repair and maintenance of the motor vehicles will cover like your oil changes and breakdowns and all of that. Is the other
Water
stuff?
filter, water pumps going out, things like that. The vehicle maintenance and care was just if we bought cleaning supplies to clean the inside of the cars,
Sure.
disinfectants, things like that throughout the year.
I missed the one up above, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
I answered my own question, but I
Sure.
appreciate that. I mean, that makes sense. You're going
Yes.
to the
Yes,
schools
just-
to show the car off to the kids. It needs to look good, right?
Right.
So,
Well, where do the vehicle repairs show up on the budget?
They're in vehicle maintenance and repair,
line 261.
261.
Really, that's $600?
No.
Sorry.
It's
261.
40,000.
Oh, sorry. Got it. Okay, thanks. Yeah, okay.
I wish, yeah, Ben and I both wish that was $600, but unfortunately it's not.
I'm
Yeah.
assuming the 3,000 for the line 262 repair and maintenance equipment, that's just anything outside of-
Everything else,
Okay.
yes, that's everything else that we have possessed that breaks down throughout the year. And, we moved away from our fleet management last year, and Ben can attest that we were doing pretty good until the last 2 months, and those cars that were supposed to cycle out started just massive repairs on those cycles, so
So we can capture that. Do you recall how much money we were, prior to we got off that, how much we were setting aside annually for the,
it was around 150 for car and what, 40-something for upfitting, which is all the lights, cages, and things like that. It was around 150 for the fleet purchase and then the upfitting. Roughly $200,000.
annually, is what we were putting in there.
Annual.
So we're 400,000 behind pace at the moment,
We are correct,
fixing to be 600.
correct.
Okay.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
I just have a curiosity thing on my, do we, on our vehicles, do we have a factory warranty on any of?
We do, we do. But unfortunately for us, that's not when they break down. It's the tail end of the cycle that they start
That's when they
coming
start-
apart.
yeah.
And about the 5-year cycle, which is the norm of rotating that fleet, and those will be out of warranty at that time.
Okay, just curious.
We do have a lot of warranty work, though. Early on, that our Dodge warranties are pretty good, and we do capture a lot of that.
Good, thank you.
Chief, the line item 377 says Axon tasers, $28,000. What does that cover? Is that, if we use tasers, that's to replace them?
That is the TASER contract yearly. It's providing all the TASERs, all the software services, all of the updates, all the training cartridges, everything that goes with that. That's Axon's business model. They do that on a purchase at a 5-year plan, and when you're in that, it provides everything to do with TASER, all of your online cloud service that's attached to that, so it captures the data when they download those TASERs upon usage, and the bulk of that, to include the Axon car camera and Axon body camera, is your cloud services. That's what, the bulk of that is what you're paying for. The actual hardware piece itself is almost insignificant to Axon. It's the software and stuff that goes with it. It's why the bill is that way, and that's for all products like that, whether you went to an alternate product, if we changed from Axon and went to WatchGuard camera systems, the same thing. The hardware is going to be minimal. The software and the cloud service and things like that is your cost in that.
Okay. And then just a quick question. I'm looking at just fuel of $86,000 a year. When we hire police officers, they take the cars home with them, is that correct?
Once they exit phase 1 of their FTO program, they do have a take-home car.
What would be, I'm just trying to figure things out, rather than cutting personnel, like I said, I'm trying to think out of the box. If we didn't let them take a vehicle home, what would the cost savings be over a year?
Be very insignificant. The mayor was here when we did that take-home car policy and showed that the benefit to the officer is very great. The cost to the city was minimal as far as that attached to an officer as a benefit. $2,500 a year for that. The,
Per car.
per car. The risk in that is that there's no one in the business that's not the norm anymore, for multiple reasons. One is you spread your fleet out, so it's not located in one location. If you only run a certain amount of cars you need for your shifts, and you hot seat those cars every shift, you wear them out faster, so you're purchasing cars. There's tons of reasons why you do that and send those cars home and get them away dispersed. When you need to call in officers, you immediately can call them in from home to respond. There's a ton of benefits to that. If you don't do it, officers are going to leave you. That benefit alone, officers will leave. So if we're talking about cutting 2 officers, then if I take away cars, I'm going to lose 5. So it's which way you want to cut, but you're going to bleed either way.
Thank you.
Are there people that are not officers that have cars?
I don't have a non-civilian person that works for me. I'm one of the only departments in the state that has that. I have no receptionist. I have no civilian employees. Everyone is a post-certified officer, my entire department. So I don't have anybody that I send cars home with that's not an officer.
So if we talk about officers, administration, everybody is an
Everyone is a
officer.
certified officer, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Move on to the fire department. The cuts in the fire department were all personnel related. On 110 salaries is 155, 977. That is 3 firefighters. Their salary plus the cost of retirement, Medicare, and Social Security.
I have a couple questions for Chief Hughes regarding those cuts, if you don't mind, Chief.
Yes, sir.
What would we kind of just heard the fallout of what would happen to the police force if we took that action. What would be the reality of your department?
So if we cut the 3 firefighters, and the reason I went that way, our operations are pretty slim anyway. If I start cutting truck repair, things like that, truck breaks down, we're not responding in it. We can't repair our SCBA's, we can't buy new turnout gear, which we're required to at a 10-year lifespan. Most of the fire stuff goes out of service at 10 years, so we have to replace it on a cycle. If we were to lose the 3 firefighters, Station 2 would have to be shut down. We could not operate it with the amount of people that we have right now. It would be offline every time. I talked with Ben. I could probably have cut 2 firefighters and a half, but a half a firefighter doesn't do me any good on the shifts. We'd still have to shut that station down. It would increase our response times to that area again. The other thing, we would probably breach our contract with the county for their services. We would lose that income from the calls that we run outside the city limits for the county.
Which that would be, if we're saving $155,000, how much annually do we receive from that contract? I can't recall.
I think this year we've taken in 61.5 so far. That was through the first 3 quarters. We'll have another payment they'll pay us 1st of July, which if you
So
divide that by
3
4,
quarters of the, roughly
3 quarters of the year was
3/5
61, yeah.
of the cost of those 3 is being covered by that contract. So not only would we would save $156,000, but then we would lose income of say
60 to 70 in
60
revenue.
to 70,000. So you're not really saving all of that. How would that? I'm sorry. One more question, and I'll let you go. Something else that I think that it would be important to discuss for the citizens to understand. If I know you just had a review for your ISO rating, which ISO ratings directly impact property insurance and the premiums that carries that citizens pay.
Yes, sir.
If we were to lose that station out by 40. Our response time to calls as a whole is going to come down since we'd be back to 1 station and potentially see an ISO rating increase, which would come as a cost to the citizens as well.
Citizens and businesses, yes.
and as business, everybody, right? So I think it's important to remember that aspect of it, that potentially taxes to cover that cost saves. Either way, you're going to see an increase as a property owner, whether the taxes go up or your ISO rating changes.
Correct. We did just get graded. We'll have our final grade in, they said 3 to 6 months. Right now, we're in ISO 3. We scrubbed through our last ISO rating to see where we struggled at. One of our struggles was staffing. Second was deployment, and deployment is where you leave from for the station. So we only had one station, so we have one deployment area. Adding the second deployment area was favorable for us. Adding personnel was favorable for us. The other thing that was favorable for us is our training center that we put in. We did not have that last time, so we should have full credit for that. The ISO grader was very positive. He thought that we would have a positive. He did not know if we'd go down to a 2, but we were going to be better than we were last year. I am under obligation that if we change anything in staffing, stations, or equipment, I have to let them know, and they have to come back out and grade us. So if we did this, they would have to come out and grade us before we got our new grade.
Thank you.
Are all 3 of these positions filled positions right now?
One of them is not filled right now. We have applications. We're ready to do the process. We will probably go through the process to get a hiring list because I'm afraid this is going to start a different ripple effect for us, and people will start looking for other positions at other departments.
Okay. Thank you. I guess maybe what that means too is that we're looking at the net is 2 staff that we would lose, and the cost that we're
Correct.
getting from the county would actually offset if we lost that money, right? Okay. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
Next page is Public Works. Public Works is also all personnel. So in the budget that we brought 2 weeks ago, we had 1.5 new hires for Public Works. This 110 salaries is we subtracted the 1.5 new hires plus 1 current occupied position. And that gives us our total for Public Works.
I have a question for Public Works. If we were to cut chipping service, what would that be as a savings to the city?
Wow, like,
Our chipper service, if we were say to cut that,
well, from the ice storm, that's all we've done. I mean, normally I've did the right-of-way mowing and a lot more patching and other repairs that we do throughout the city, but we ain't even started that yet. We've done 97 truckloads since April 1st. That's just me and my guys. It's a 5-day a week since the storm. So it's like we did all the Cox Pike this morning. I come on that way coming in tonight, there's 6 more piles that just got put back out. So if we was to cut it, we'd be able to do a lot more services throughout the community besides just having 4 guys chip nonstop.
what do you feel, between you and Mr. Knox, what do you feel the benefit to the city financially would be if we cut chipper service?
For yearly cost, I think that there is nothing other than replacing the chipper
Right. And the chipper truck later on.
But
and the truck that you used to do it with.
So the chipper machine, the chipper truck, the chipper maintenance basically on it, but
Yes.
also the time that we spend on that, we're taking away from time that we could be doing something
Right,
else.
right.
That we need, and we're already shorthanded
Right.
at Public Works.
Right.
Especially we're down 1 guy from an injury.
Right. And I talked to him, and he's going to probably be out another 3 to 5 months.
I mean, that's significant. So now we're down to 4?
3 and me.
3 and you.
Yes, sir.
And you're hands-on.
Yeah, I mean, that's
I
the
see you
thing.
all the time, you're hands-on, so
Yes, sir.
there's four of you. There should be at least 7
Or more.
or more.
Yeah, yes, sir. Like this weekend, we got called out 4 times. I mean, many guys worked 20 hours this weekend. So,
Right. Thank you, I'm good.
Ben? This employee, is that one for 6 months, new hire?
Yes, sir. The idea was to hire one July 1 and then one after Christmas.
Okay, thank you.
Next is Parks Department. So Parks is a blend of personnel and operations, mostly personnel. Out of the 110, most all of Parks expenditures out of 110 is personnel. They have the 112 fund, which is funded by building permit revenue, and that's what most of their operational stuff comes from. So we're only looking to balance the 110 in this exercise, so that's why most of it came from personnel. Salaries, that is minus 4 people.
How many currently work for Parks?
3, and then the one maintenance position that's unfilled right now.
So this would initially be eliminating Parks?
I don't think you're understanding each other. How many total people work in the Parks Department right now?
Right now,
Down here, 6.
right now 5 plus 1 open position.
So 6.
Okay.
Yes.
So this would go down to 2.
Correct.
Thank you.
And then this is also taking away part-time, which is the Rangers.
Okay.
That's the 113 line item.
So just to clarify, you said it would be 4 positions for the parks. Is that including the part-time position, or is it 4 full-time plus a part-time?
4 full-time plus 2 part-time. Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, I should have said that separately. For operations, 201 dues, subtract 500. 202 subscriptions, subtract 250. 218 advertising, subtract 500. 220 printing and duplicate. Oh, I skipped one. Sorry. 218 we left alone. 282 lodging, minus 750. 302 training, minus 1,500. 307 office equipment, minus 1,000. 309 office furniture, minus 1,500. 310 office supplies, minus 1,000. And the last is 948 computer equipment, minus 2,000. That gives us our total for parks. And the end of that part of the speech for me.
Ben,
Yes, sir.
how many total employees throughout the city is suggested? How many total employees are suggested?
Let me add it up real quick.
6, 7, 8,
You got
9, 10, 11, 12, 13,
quite,
15 or something.
quite a bit. Total employees cuts. I just wanted it on the record.
I think I've got it here. If you want it, it would be 6, 2 full-time, 2 part-time, or 4 full-time, 2 part-time for parks. It'd be 2 2 for Public Works, which would bring us to a total of 8, 3 for the Fire Department, which would bring us to 11, 2 Police, which would bring us to 13, and then 2 Admin, which would bring us to 15, I believe is the number. If
And
I
I think one
captured.
from planning also.
What's that?
One from planning also.
And 1 from planning, so 16.
16, okay. I basically just wanted that number for the public.
Sure. I think now we can just discuss whatever changes we would like to see made.
Well, I'm curious about the chipper service discussion because that seems to take up a lot of our public works time and the additional employees. So I guess I'm curious how many other communities have chipper service?
I can speak to Dixon and Dixon County. The city of Dixon does not have a chipper service. Now, they do have leaf pickup and they do brush pickup, but they use the claw to come pick things up and carry it away. That has to be piled at the street by the taxpayer, the citizen, to do that. So, but in return, they have garbage service and we don't have garbage service. So again, we can do a analysis, but there'll be a lot of apples to oranges comparison on that. But I'm not aware of any other city that has a chipper service I'm aware of, but that's just locale.
Well, I feel like employees and gas money and equipment maintenance and that's a big number to me. If we want to not try to raise taxes, maybe people can take care of their own brush.
And to your point, I believe you all made the point on the public works budget, it was pretty easy to determine they are shorthanded, thus the 1.5 people we were adding, but that's assuming brush service and nothing else changes. But that could be a savings, and we need to put pen to paper, but that could be a savings if you do eliminate that. The need for 2 additional employees may not be as necessary because those that are chipping now can be reassigned, but that's something that myself, Mr. Knox, and Mr. Rashford need to sit down and talk about.
Todd, how, if you don't mind, if chipper service were to go away, do you feel like you would need those additional employees, or would y'all be freed up to do the other things that need to get done and with the employees you have?
Well, the way our job works, you normally have 2 people directing traffic now. This ain't Fairview 20 years ago when I came here, when we see 1 or 2 cars on the road as we was doing our job. So now we have to have 2 people flagging traffic anytime we're in the right of way. It's just too many cars. It's like on the tractors. You got 2 road tractors, you got a follower and a flagger. So you'll need 4 people to pretty much to do what we do at all times. It's like we do any road patching. You gotta have flaggers, you gotta have, people running equipment.
How many do you have right now?
Me and 3.
Oh,
And
so-
4, it'd be me and 4, because we got 1 employee out that's injured that we're hoping comes back, but I talked to him this week, he said they may have to do an additional surgery on him. Maybe where we are for another year or 2, I don't know.
That's your whole department being used for just.
Oh,
chip-
yeah. I give kudos to my guys. I'm telling you, they work from the time they get here to the time they eat lunch. And then that lunch is over, we're right back. And everybody, we're fortunate to have the guys we have that work like they do. Yeah, we work, like I said, it's constant.
I did see them out today, and they work very hard, and
Yes.
it was a lot with one of them directing traffic and
Yeah.
the other
Yeah.
2 working as fast as they can to unclog the
Right.
road.
Yeah. And
Is
I was
this-
in the meeting, so I wasn't out there to help them. So.
I wasn't going to say I didn't notice you,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
okay.
I wasn't out.
But would you say that this is an unusually high volume year, or is it usually like this?
Oh, crazy, crazy. Like I said, normally, if I got my numbers right, normally we do about 130 truckloads a year. And so we normally chip Tuesday and Wednesday, and then we got Monday, Thursday, and Friday to do our other services. But this year from the ice storm firm, but we're just, it's 5 days a week. So yeah. We're, like I said, I think we're on 96 trucks, which, you know, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
And I'm listening to the ideas up here, and I'm not disagreeing with anybody, but while we're just
And if we
tossing
would-
out ideas, if we change, I'm sorry, you go ahead and then I'll go.
Well,
please.
well, that's like, if we wouldn't have changed it a few years ago by the ordinance, we, you know, with everybody bringing out as much as they want, we wouldn't be where we are today. I mean, that took a lot of work off of the crew.
Well, you're walking
Oh.
in the same direction I was going to go, which is just thinking about workload management. There might be something that we could put into place as far as just a limitation for this year that would still free you
Right.
up and make it a little bit more manageable.
Well, I kind of thought a little bit in my mind of changing, you know, how many months we do it maybe. So maybe we can change it up. That's something we can discuss to figure out what would be best. Maybe not do it, I think we do it 8 months a year, maybe just do it 4, maybe cut it in half. And do it during the winter months instead of summer months so we can mow, because like in the summertime, it takes us almost a whole month to cut the side of the right of way with the 2 tractors.
That's right, yeah. Okay, that's helpful.
How many months is chipper service?
I think it's 7 or 8, to be honest with you.
7 or
Like
8
April to
months.
October,
Yes, sir.
November.
Yes, sir. I think we start April and go to the end of October. I believe that's correct. And then we start the leaf service from November to April 1st.
What is, as the department head that has to manage that, what is your opinion on it? Do you feel that it is a burden to your department? Or do you feel like, what does your guys think of chipper service? Is it something that they
Well,
look forward to, or is it something that they dread? How's that?
Well, I think the guys are just thankful to be able to come in and have a job the way they got. But it is, it's from this last past storm, and as big as the city has grown, it's something that, I mean, it's a nonstop job. But even before the ice storm last fall, me and Blake was talking, which is one of my lead men, and we was like, we normally only chip, like I said, Tuesday and Wednesday, and we can do our other services. But now, it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then going back in that same zone on Monday just to get it done. So it's a constant service.
It's just confusing to me because I've lived here well over 30 years and I've never put a limb at the curb, ever. So I just don't get it. I mean, I had a tree fall on my house and I called a service and paid them. Insurance took care of part of it and
Right.
we got the tree gone. I mean, you know, we're well over 30 years and I've lived in 3 different places in Fairview and not one, and I've had many trees. I've got tons of trees right now. I don't really understand the,
Like I
you know.
said, I've been here over 20
understand.
years, and when I first came here, we'd do it only 2 days, 3 days a month.
Yeah.
It's just everybody is bringing something out now. But I also think there was not a burn ban in place at that time also. You know, we still rule Fairview. I remember when I first come here, a lot of people burnt their brush.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
I have, oh, he said thank you. I have a question for Mayor Ryle or for Mr. Knox. There's one budget we didn't review, and that might have been intentional, but we have a Board of Commissioners budget as well, and we didn't discuss any cuts off of that.
Well, and there's not a trip for leadership this year, so that's what, $3,500 that should come off, and then
Yeah, we all have travel and training, and then
Right,
I
travel
don't
and
want to
training,
cut
if we could-
our community development. I don't want to, but that's $5,000 a year for each of us. That's $25,000. that we could work with right there. You know, I don't know what we have to have. I think it's probably a good idea for us to have the cell phone service. You know, I don't know what we've got else that we could cut, but we didn't talk about that yet.
I think, is it,
It's just not enough to, once we split that up into, it is $25,000, but once we split that up into 8 departments, it doesn't go very far in each.
No, but
each
we should do
department.
our part too.
Yeah,
This looks like a lot of cuts. These are some deep cuts, and we should be included in that.
well, to be fair, the $5,000 is invested back into the community, so it's not like that's,
No,
it
it's all
wouldn't have saved
good,
any
but
personnel cuts at all.
arguably, all of these are costs that are vested back in the community.
very
So-
fair. But I would also just like to point out, like, I think I'm 2 years into this, and I don't think I've ever submitted any travel expenses. So I feel like more often than not, the BOC budget is probably underutilized compared to all the other departments are actually functioning off those budgets and using them most likely to their max, where I feel like historically the BOC budget probably is not maxed out.
No, it's not, but those dollars could be reallocated on a different budget line for
I got you.
that
I
very
didn't have
reason.
it printed off for y'all, but if you look at the operating, what we have for next year, so if you take away the total with everything in there is 37,850 minus the 25,000 y'all have for community development would give you $12,000. What everything else, travel, training, cell phones, everything would be, is outside of that $5,000 a person for community development.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 5,000 plus the travel and training could probably be, I don't know, manipulated in some way, even if it wasn't the full 5,000, but it could be. But we just didn't talk about it. And
Yeah, I'm totally not against taking it from that, and I think that's what this whole exercise is for, is figure out where do we want to get money from, so.
yeah.
Now, this exercise was to run through this, making our changes without a tax increase. The other way is putting everything back in and increasing the taxes. Was there any middle done on this budget where there is a cut and a lesser tax increase?
No, the budget we submitted to you last 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago, I'm sorry, whatever date it was, the budget we submitted to you, that's the one we brought. Now, again, we have a zero-based budget now. We have a budget that we presented to you, or we can modify that. And again, we can make suggestions, and we don't mind doing that, but we are looking for some direction from y'all tonight, because eventually y'all set the priorities and what you want us to look at and what departments you want, because y'all are the representative of the people, and we'll follow that lead. So again, we're glad to do any type of budget you want us to, and we'll, regardless of what y'all pass, we will do it and manage it. But we kind of need some guidance from y'all on where you want us to head, because we can do that and have it presented to you on the 18th.
Right.
What two positions were in administration were being discussed? We said two positions, but Richard and Patty positions.
Who chose all the positions to be cut? I'm just curious. Was it all the directors, or?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Out of all the positions that are being, just for this instance here, who made those decisions to make those cuts?
we gave the department heads figures and what it'd have to be. So it was a mutual understanding on that. So we did not dictate that on any of those departments. Under administrative and planning, because they have no director, those decisions we made while we were preparing the budget.
And some positions are required. They can't be cut. So those can't even be looked at. I mean, we have to have, you know,
That's the way admin was.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's certain admin people that we can't,
It leaves the two
we
required
can't
positions.
function without.
Communications is not required?
Not by law.
No, not by law.
Would you all, the two of you, mind just kind of, one for our sake and for the citizens listening, just, I don't know, we're looking at all this, right, and we're to get to a point where we don't have to increase taxes, and I know we've all experienced it in our personal lives, right? Gas is up, interest rates are up, food's up. Literally everything you bought 5 years ago costs more today, and that's no different for us as a city, right? But looking at this, trying to get to a point where we can be balanced without increasing taxes, to me, it seems like, how did we get here? Can you point to like what? I just feel like we got real sideways, and I'm not really, based on last year's budget discussion and now this year's budget discussion, it just seems like two very different conversations. And I would love to just have insight into that, as well as the citizens, for just,
Yeah, I think how we came up with was to, one, look at revenue, see what we think that we're going to get for this current year, and that gave us our number that we were looking for. I think to look at each department, if you look outside of personnel, if you go down to the bottom of operations, you'll be able to see how much we increased over each department. And then instead of separating it so much line by line, look at the total, and then you can see what we were doing, what we did last year to this year. So you can see the overall increase of the department. And then
Just
you can
excuse
go-
me for a second, Ben, and again, I'll let you get back to that. I'll give the more general answer because I know he has all the specifics, but the overestimation of revenues in this past budget was the issue, and then increased cost. We are hitting some cost, the required raise by ordinance that we're required to give, health insurance increase. We had another large increase, Ben, I may have hit all the big ones, though.
All the main ones, yeah.
debt services for Fern, I would imagine, is part of it.
We're going to have to start setting money aside for the match for the FEMA grant, where we potentially have to match that. And I don't know if you had opportunity to blend that into this budget on the increase, with the tax increase portion, the set aside for the FEMA grant.
No, I have the number for that was $675,000 if we have to pay 25%.
So we had to start setting money aside for that. We reached out to our auditor today. We're going to have a meeting with him because we are trying to do some forensic accounting with trying to understand just where the X and Y axis crossed, where the revenue started exceeding, or the expense started exceeding the revenues. We can pick some things out of the audit now, but because how the numbers are blended with some one-time funds like ARPA funds or debt service funds, we want to get Blankenship to walk us through that to make sure we know that. But we're going to be setting that. We had that meeting via phone this afternoon. We're going to set up a meeting either Thursday or somewhere the first of next week. So we want them to walk us through the numbers to make sure we had something that we were going to present to you tonight, but Ben and I weren't confident we could show you the exact number. So as opposed to getting some erroneous information out, we want to meet with them first.
Yeah, the reason I asked that is just I remember last year's budget discussion. Throughout those conversations, we saw, the whole county saw a large property value increase through assessments, right? And then our discussion in response to that was to stay revenue net neutral by lowering the property tax, which we lowered it by a significant amount. I know to the general public, it seems like we just kept it, your property tax stayed the same because the value of your property was seen as much greater. And we reduced our portion. Now, you do have $1.30, I believe, from the county. That's uncontrollable by us. But I
We
believe
lowered it 28 cents.
we lowered it 28 and some change, right? Almost 29 cents is what we decreased it by last year. And throughout those conversations, when we were discussing lowering the tax rate, there was a side conversation taking place of increasing salaries beyond what the resolution requires. And in that discussion, at no point was it made to seem like there was going to be financial troubles with that. Now, we decided not to increase the salaries. However, I guess it seems like as different as black and white is. Like, we have two very different conversations taking place now, and it's from the community's perspective. Last year, and we were all very gleeful when we were able to lower the property tax rate in response to the assessment increasing. But now here we are just 12 months later, $1 million shy of where we need to be without even getting caught back up on the things that we're behind on. And it sounds like there's some additional funds that may need to be discussed that aren't even included in this budget. I know we've talked about the fleet management for the police. We just covered that, how we're 400,000 behind on that. That grows by a sum of 200,000 every year. And that's assuming that police vehicles don't become more and more expensive, which we all know they absolutely will. We just purchased a fire truck for $1 million that, if we would have bought it 5 or 6 years ago, would have been $450,000, $500,000 truck. I'm aware that they have equipment, apparatus that needs to be addressed. There's vehicles that you currently use that we probably should have had that discussion a year or two ago about replacing another one. I know the rescue trucks maintenance costs are growing exponentially every year. I think we budget $10,000 for maintenance costs on that vehicle, and this year we've passed $30,000. I know you just today said you were dealing with a vehicle down, correct? So there's consequences to allowing your equipment to age beyond what you intended, right? So, and those things, the replacement of that rescue truck and to get back on with the fleet management of the police vehicles, that's not currently in this budget. So we are $1 million shy on balancing the current budget, but realistically, we're beyond $2 million shy, if we really want to talk about it, or close to it. If you could take the 4 years, 5 years it would take, is it 5 years roughly to get 3 years to get that truck from order to delivery? So you could take the cost of that and divide it out over 3 years, but the cost of that is at $750,000 at least. So we should probably assume it's going to be $1 million. So you're looking at $333,000 annually to save to be able to pay for that when you take delivery of it. So now we've got $600,000 in police management, police vehicles are behind, and then another $1 million in a fire truck. So we're now 1.6 plus, and that's just with those two items. That's not talking about any additional costs or additional issues that aren't being addressed. Right now, we're trying to shave the budget down just for the sake of having a conversation of what that would look like and how that would impact the city. But in reality, this isn't the full conversation. We are kicking the can down the road on some very large items that you do not want to end up to, ideally, you don't want to take loans out for. Now, we've done that in the past. It may or may not have to be done in the future, but I think there's ways to properly plan for those costs because they're not surprises. And for us to just assume, like, we don't need it this year, we can push it off to next year, well, that just compounds your problem. Every year it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Unfortunately, this is, there's a lot of a lot of things that have to be looked at. And it's easy to drag emotion into this conversation, and I feel for everybody. I mean, there's no, is it fun to tell property owners of the city that they're going to have to pay, $500, $600 more in property taxes or whatever it would equate to, $1,000 more in property taxes annually? Or is it harder to tell 16 employees that you're not bringing a paycheck home to your family anymore, and you got to go find work in an economy that's not great? And, no matter what way you get out of this, it's not going to be fun. I think that everyone just needs to understand that.
I agree with that. And I do have one question that's kind of blaring to me. One thing I've never noticed in the past budgets, and maybe Mr. Knox, you can elaborate a little bit on this, is fire holiday pay and police holiday pay. I don't remember seeing these in the past budgets as a line item.
That's what we just went in the amended budget. That's what was added to both of those budgets in the amended for this year.
But is this, like, I don't remember, I get we just added this into the amended budget, but I don't remember seeing this in past budgets. Is this something new, or
Right.
is this something we should have been doing all these years, or I don't know. I'm just curious.
Yes, so previous years, this is the conversation we had about this was we didn't notice it until the last two, I believe it became a problem 2 years ago. So that was before they were fully staffed, and it was all built into the salaries portion. The fire was not, their holiday pay was not in the budget at all. It was getting eaten up by them having open positions. So had they been fully staffed, we would have seen the problem before.
So in the past years, if we were fully staffed at fire and police, the holiday pay would have, wow, okay.
The salaries line item would have been over.
So this should have always been a line item, that's what you're saying?
Correct.
Mayor Ryle, I've got a question for you. Just for the sake of continuing this exercise to the final punctuation, let's just say we take all these recommendations and this is what we do. We don't raise taxes, we cut services, we don't make any new hires. What happens next year? Are we able to meet our budget next year?
With no tax increase, we would probably be looking at a similar situation, not necessarily a cutting situation, but in a no-growth situation, just simply because the increased expenses we're going to see, always back to the required pay raise, insurance increases, fuel cost, even though they've been up, we'll see a higher fuel cost just simply until they drop back down to a normal state. So, no, we will be dealing with this issue again. Not if we make all these cuts, not to this severity, but we will be looking for more revenue this time next year, just to take care of the increased expenses.
So just to, I think, maybe echo what Vice Mayor McDonald said, we really are just kicking the can down the road if we don't do something. Do you know, you might not have these numbers right now because you've been focusing on something else, but do you know what our account balances are today? Or Mr. Knox, do you know? Like what's in our unrestricted general fund?
I could get that for you tomorrow.
Sure, it can wait a few minutes. I don't know if you can pull it, but I'm just kind of curious where we sit today.
I misspoke a minute ago, and I'd like to clarify this because it might have just freaked some people out. So the proposed, so I guess to piggyback off what you just said, there's two things that can happen. We can make the cuts to balance the budget. We're going to have this discussion next year, either property tax or further cuts, which at this point in time, if all these cuts were actually to be enforced, I don't think there's further cuts that could be made next year. It would be an inevitable property tax increase conversation. We can increase property tax to make the current budget equal or whole. However, we'll be right back in the same conversation next year. Or we can make a property tax increase that would allow us to start digging out of this hole to where we don't have to be making an increase to the tax rate every single year to get out of it. And the part that I misspoke on, as I said, $1,000, the only household, and this is worst case scenario or the highest increase that is being proposed, if your house is worth $1.5 million, you would see a $1,000 increase. If your house is worth $850,000, you would see a $600 increase. If your house is worth $500,000, you would see a $372 increase. And if your house is valued at $300,000, you would see a $220 increase. So that's on top of what you're already paying, and I understand that. But you, as a whole, it's still, you know, and these are, to be clear, we would be impacted by these tax rates as well. My house, every one of our houses are in this city. We would all see that as a bill to our property as well. This isn't something that we are immune to. I think that's worth saying. So it's increasing taxes on ourselves as well to have these conversations. But as someone who never thought in my wildest dreams that I'd be talking about taxes and making them more, because it's not something I'm a big fan of myself. When you look at the reality of the situation, it's evident why this conversation has to take place and why these considerations have to be made.
Just one comment. Just one comment on that. I agree with everything you said. Not that it makes anyone feel any better, but we're not in this alone. Williamson County realized this last year and bit the bullet with their taxes. So Fairview was able to put it off for a year, but it's time to pay.
Also, I think the highest tax rate increase that you are suggesting would still be 4 cents less than what it would have been if we would have just left it as it was last year. So we theoretically is still a property rate decrease from what it was 2 years ago. We lowered it by 29 cents. Worst case scenario here, to get to the point where we can start digging out of the hole, start planning for these vehicles that are going to need to be addressed in the future, start putting money into the rainy day fund so we can get into a situation like Storm Fern and not have to go and take a loan out, which costs us more money because we're now paying interest. To be able to self-sustain financially, it would allow us to start getting into that position. Again, it's really anything less than that is just how far down the road do you want to push the problem before you have to have that discussion again. But at the end of the day, it is still a lower tax rate than what it was prior to the property assessment.
Well, I think y'all have all said it very well, so I don't want to be redundant, but what I see here that apparently we need to do is not only take care of this problem and just not walk away with a tax increase, but we need to get back to the fundamentals of how we do business, just where we're not going hand to mouth, where we don't anticipate that we don't do enough. We'll be back here next year. We need to do that. The very things you mentioned about fire and different fleet activities, if we need to set aside pennies or certain dollars for capital improvements, because roofs, air conditioners, fire trucks, they're always going to be out there. So even keeping that just an operating expense, it's something we almost need to have a fund set aside and dedicate pennies or dollars every year to that, because we'll have to replace a fire truck. We're going to have to replace police cars. And borrowing is not the worst thing as long as it's done smartly, where we're not compounding borrowing on top of our borrowing. And again, I apologize for using a Dixon County, for instance, but we have to buy a new ambulance every year. But we finance one for 3 years every year because that keeps our rotation. To keep our ambulances fresh, we need 1 1/3 ambulances. We can easily do that with what the police department has here, and because the annual mileage, it's going to be an easy measurement to do. I know the Chief Humphreys can do that, but if we do this tax increase, it's up on us, and me in particular, and Ben and all the department heads. We've got to put some fundamentals in place that we don't have to do this every year. And I'm not just talking about next year, I'm talking about 5, 6, and 7 years from now. Not that we may not ever have another tax increase, but it'd be well planned, thought out, and we don't get ourselves behind the 8 ball like we are right now.
Thank you for that. That was very well said, and I appreciate that explanation. I think you answered my question perhaps most of the way, but this board can only do what this board can do today, and there will be elections, and different people will be sitting up here at some point, and they can undo whatever we do. They can change it. They could come up with different priorities and shift it. But for now, we could decide on a budget with a 5-year projection, or 7-year projection, with earmarked dollars for specific projects, with the idea that if we raise revenues, say like our sales tax revenue starts to go higher, there is a possibility property taxes could be reduced again in the future if we can balance that out with the sales tax. So do you want to talk to that point just a little bit, that maybe it's not always permanent?
With growth, we have, in this community, we have growth in revenues that come with it. But historically, we have growth of expenses that walk right along with it. The more people move the community, the more police department, the more brush. There's always a cost that goes with it. So, again, the sales tax, we need to follow it, but we have to be careful not to exceed it, because regardless if it goes up every year, it will plateau at some point. You can't have 3 and 5 or 10% revenue growth in sales tax eventually. Even though it's on an upward rise, it will plateau. And so we need to make sure our spending habits follow behind it and not project out in front of it. So again, tax increases are eventually inevitable, because with the reassessment, we try to stand on a 4 or 5 year view that we can manage ourselves through that time. But with property tax, you get into the whole ratio year and things of that type that I just let assessors explain. But you will even plateau just simply by how they determine that every year. So there's a lot of moving parts to it, but it's for us to budget with a long-term view and being very consistent in it, where we don't have to come back to raise taxes, but follow especially the sales tax revenue, where we pace it but not get ahead of it. And that's probably not a good answer to your question, but.
That was a great answer, and I appreciate it. It's important for us to understand all of the angles. I don't know if this is premature, but I'll just jump out there and say Chief Hughes said something that made a lot of sense. I mean, the only thing he's cut is personnel, and if he's got 2 positions, and that would be covered by the money that we're getting from the county for that contract agreement, and we don't want to be in breach of any agreements, and we don't want our ISO rating to become worse. I mean, to me, that feels like there's one right now we can kind of look at and say maybe we're off to a start. And maybe we need to have individual conversations with you and talk about it. But to me, I think maybe there's going to have to be a mix.
We need, and not only need, but value your input. I'll be available most of the day on Thursday up until meeting time Thursday night, and then next week I'm going to have a lot of availability here in Fairview. So meeting with you individually and along with Mr. Knox I think that'd be very helpful if y'all are so inclined to do that.
Just for public information, this coming Thursday's meeting does not have the second reading of the budget on it. It is the following second meeting of the month. So there's 2.5 weeks before the rubber meets the road on this conversation.
And there's a public hearing before the second reading, so people will have an opportunity to speak to us that night. There were people that were concerned that there wasn't a separate public hearing opportunity aside from the night that we're voting on it. I guess there could have been comments tonight, and there can be this coming Thursday if people want to say something before the night that we vote on it.
And there were citizens' comments on the agenda for tonight, if anyone wanted to come and have comment. And as we see, we have 2 people from the community here. 2. The rest of them are city employees. Just want to point that out.
Would it be advantageous for us to have another workshop after you guys kind of look at your feedback from this meeting prior to the next time we do our second read?
I'd be happy to do that. I think it would be good for us to get our heads together and meet with y'all individually so we could bring something back for the whole to make a decision on. So again, I look at my calendar. I don't know if we're next Thursday night, give us a week. That way we'd have an opportunity to meet with y'all individually before then and come back. And again, I have to look at my calendar at that and how that works for y'all. But no, I have no problem with that whatsoever. I think it'd be very helpful.
The board up for that as well, after individual meetings, to have another workshop?
If it's needed.
Yeah, I think if it's needed, I think personally for me, and this is just my take, and you welcome to feel differently, looking at the budget, trying to figure out where we could cut back, right, is, I don't have a clue how that's going to impact a department anywhere near the level of what the actual department head understands, right? So getting them to look through this and put this together, which I greatly appreciate it and apologize for any strife that may have caused you to go through this process. But now it's real numbers on the paper that I can go home now and look at the budget that is proposed, the cuts that we have discussed tonight, and plug and play what can happen with considering taxes and all of that, the big picture. I would definitely plan to meet with the 2 of you at some point before, most likely like next Monday or Tuesday, to kind of go over what I envision or how I see it shaking out. And then the only way I would see value in another workshop like this would be after you have met with the 5 of us individually, if you just feel like we are all on very different pages. But if the majority of what we're saying is within, a reasonable difference from each other, then I think we could probably hash that out in just the meeting at the second reading.
I agree, Vice Mayor, and just looking at my calendar, June 11th looks like a good date. That would get us through this coming Thursday's meeting, handle our business on that, and allow us to, again, to meet with y'all either on Thursday or any day next week before the 11th. And again, I'm looking at Mr. Knox, Ms. Jones, if those dates work for y'all. We'll find somebody else for you then. Mr. Knox, you.
I'm good as long as we do it before the 11th.
On the 11th or before the 11th?
No, I'm just saying as long as we meet with everybody before then.
Yes.
Like if we meet with everybody, just give me a day to get it together.
Mayor Ryan.
I don't know that I could promise that I would be able to make all the changes in the day of, but for sure if we do it, get everybody in by the 10th, then I think that I don't have a problem with having it ready by the 11th.
Mayor Ryan, I'm available any afternoon after 2 p.m.
We'll, if you feel free to reach out to us, but if you have a time you're interested in, we'll set up an appointment for y'all individually where you come by and meet.
Yeah, we'll just try to send out an email to everybody tomorrow and then say time and then.
And just looking quickly at my calendar, I have availability on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm in great shape if it works for y'all. I should have plenty of latitude. They're through with him in Dixon County, I think.
Anything else from the board for tonight?
Mayor, I just want to say one thing. You had pointed out there's only 2 citizens here, but I don't know what citizens' comments would have done because they didn't know any of this information. So just, for our citizens, they really didn't have any of this information. Now they've had an opportunity to watch this or will watch this back. I'm sure at the next meeting, we're going to have some citizens' comments for sure. So I just wanted to put that out there. Yeah.
To answer your question, Mayor, I have no further questions for staff tonight.
Well, and
wanna
I was just
digest what we,
pondering,
yeah.
I was just pondering the comment. If somebody was talking about my home budget that was going to be increased, I'd want to be here to listen. That's all I have to say, so, about that. If I were able to be here. So, anyway, if there's no other comments, we will adjourn.